Okay, so we've been building our Bitsy games. We're just going to talk quickly about these sound tools that we haven't really used yet. Although a lot of you guys have already started using them, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them. And then we'll export our game and upload it to itch.io and create a little game jam. So yeah, let's add. So there's two sound components, which are newer features on Bitsy. They haven't always been there. One is this like tune window, and the other is this blip window. So the tune window is for soundtrack, for background music. And the thing, it's actually a really cool sort of like mini little digital audio workstation, or DAW. It's like got this pretty simple interface, but it's pretty easy to use, and you don't really have to know like music or music theory to be able to use it. You just kind of like work with it visually. If we just play a quick example, this is kind of like the built-in tune, and you can kind of modify it. So it has different blocks of the melody, and the melody is just visual. So if I take out a note, I can loop this section. So you can hear it kind of changing. So you can loop little sections and kind of figure out the melody that way. The thing that's cool is that there's this style section. So it kind of limits your options. So like everything else we've seen with Bitsy, the way that it works is it makes things simple by restricting how much you can do with it. So instead of saying like you could make any song in the world or you can have any tempo in the world, they just give you 4 tempos and they just give you 2 moods. So cheery is going to be basically like a major scale, so it'll sound, more like cheery. And then gloomy is going to be a minor scale, so it'll sound dark and gloomy. So you can see that key changes here. And they actually give you a few other options. So if you have more familiarity with music theory, you might want to do a full major scale, full minor scale, chromatic scale. So you have some options there, but they're limited. And then you've basically just got these 8 blocks of melody where you can draw and, try different stuff and see how it sounds. You can just totally go wild doing whatever. And you can also change, let's see, the instrument. So you have different options for the instrument. It's kind of hard to hear. And then this is actually, I forgot. The top is sort of like the treble clef, or like the higher notes, and that relates to this little trumpet. And then these bottom sections are the bass notes. So that's you get these longer bass notes. That's pretty much it. You can play around with this, but you can actually compose music with it and make some cool stuff. And then if you want to associate the tune, once you finish your tune, when you have your room editor, you just click on the tune option, and then you can set whatever your tune is. So it's similar to the way that you set most of the other options. So if we choose this tune and then we play our game, we're going to hear that song that we just kind of created. Okay, so that's the tune feature. It's pretty fun. You can add music with that. Then the blip feature is just for sound effects. So you can change the pitch. You can, play this. So this is for the cat meow. And then there's a pickup blip. And so you can change this. You can turn the pitch down. You can choose different, sounds from here. You can do a random sound. So you can try out random sounds until you get something that you like, and then you can change the length. So let's say we like this sound, but we want it faster. We can change the length, or we can increase the speed as well. So then to add the blip to our characters, we can go back to our paint and go to our sprite, and then we can change, our sound effects down here. And so that way, that's the sound effects that will play when we get to that character. Or if we get to this item, we can play meow or, pick up key. So we can associate the different sound effects with the different sprites. And so, yeah, if we play our game now, you can hear that sound effect that we just created. Okay. So yeah, that's the sound. It's fun to play around with. I like it because it's pretty easy to use, and it does do a good job of kind of saying, like, here's a few different options, but the options are pretty typical of what you would use to compose music. So it's kind of a nice way of seeing some basic options, but not being overwhelmed with like an entire, digital workstation. All right, so let's publish our game and put it over on itch. So once we've developed everything, we're happy with how everything works, we want to go back to our game data. And we've looked at this a little bit before. If we look at the data, we can see all the data that makes the game. If we go back to save, we have a couple options here. So we can save the game as HTML, or we can save the game as Bitsy. So the difference here is if we save the game as Bitsy, that's basically like a backup of the game that we have. We can load it back into Bitsy, but it's not playable. It's sort of like a PSD versus a JPEG, or your editing file versus your exported file. The Bitsy data we can continue to edit, but we can't play it as a game in the browser. What we need is the HTML. So we're gonna save this HTML file, and we'll take a look at that over in the Finder. So if you download your HTML file, you're just going to get this HTML file like this. I'm going to put it over into my Bitsy folder. And we'll take a look at what it looks like. We're not going to edit it. I don't know why it has a bunch of spaces in it. Let's get rid of those. So if I open this up in a text editor, we'll see what this looks like. You can see the Bitsy data here at the beginning. So all this is just data, everything over here. And then at the very bottom down here, there's this really, really long JavaScript section. It's like thousands of lines long. So it's almost, it ends like down here. So it's almost 10,000 lines. And this is like the entire, not the editor, but the entire game engine. So it exports the data for your game, but it also exports all the code that runs the game in the browser. So if you open this up, if I just drag this in here, we see just the game. We don't see the editor window. So that's our game there. But we want to put that on itch.io to publish it so other people can play it. So let's go to itch.io. And I'm already logged in. Obviously, you'll have to log in. We're going to upload a new project. We'll call this our Bitsy game. And you can make the URL whatever you want. And we're going to call it a game. And we're still going to stick with HTML. So for now, we're still going to do a browser-based game so people can just play it directly in the browser. When we do our next couple of projects, we'll do downloadables. So we'll try both of those. Change this to in development. Doesn't really matter. You can put whatever you want there. No payments. And then we're just going to upload our file. The itch actually has an option now where we can just upload any HTML file if it has the whole game, which is the case. So we're going to upload our Bitsy game. And then remember to check file will be played in browser. That's how we make sure that we can actually see it in the browser. And then for this one, embed in page is probably fine. We can see what it looks like and then come back and change the width and height if we want to. And then you can add some details if you want. Here's my first Bitsy game. And you can choose a genre if you want. You can put some tags if you want to tag it. Bitsy is probably a tag here.
I mentioned this before. The
Guys, can we do this later? Sorry, I'm trying to...
I wasn't here when she did before, so I was...
I know, but we just have to do it later. We have to do it when I'm done. I'll be done in like a few minutes. Okay? Cart, we have to do it later. Thank you. Okay, you can turn on comments if you want. Remember that it needs to be public for other people to be able to play it. So you can take a look at it first, or you can just go ahead and set it to public. And so then we have our game window, and we can see the game here. And that's basically it. We can play the game. We've got all the features built into it, so it's all built into that one file. So once we've done all that, you can edit the theme of your itch page. You can add, whatever you want there. But we're also going to make an itch game jam, just like we did with our Twine projects. So let's set that up, and then you guys can work on that. So I'm going to go to, let's go to host game jam, and we're going to host a new jam. We're going to call this Bitsy Jam MMP 270 Fall 2024. And we'll do non-ranked, so we won't have any voting. And we'll start, the day is today. And we'll leave it open until it's due next week. So we'll do the 29th. Okay. And I don't think we really need to do anything else. We'll just click publish. Maybe I'll edit this later, but want to make sure we give you guys time to work on these. So yeah, here's our Bitsy Game Jam. I'll put the link for this into Brightspace as usual. And yeah, that's what we're going to do today. Work on the game, add it into the jam. Obviously, you're also going to post your game on OpenLab. So we've already gone over this a few times, so I don't need to go over it again. But for the OpenLab post, make sure to include a link to the game. You should have at least some documentation of the game. So a screenshot or a short GIF would be fine for that. And then a little description. So remember to publish the game on itch.io, then post a link and a screenshot on the class blog, and then submit that on Brightspace. So remember, there's a few steps. Should we go over that, or do you guys feel like you guys know that at this point? You're good? Okay, sweet. All right. So I'll stop there. We have like an hour until our break at 3:40. So again, if you're not like 100% done with the Bitsy game today, that's fine. You have another week to finish it and turn it in. But we are going to do our play test session starting at 4. So I want you guys to publish the game, add it into the game jam, and then we'll all play each other's game at 4 and give each other feedback to work on for the final version of the project. All right, I'm gonna stop this.